I start. So we're
Okay.
live. So now you can press it. Good morning.
All right.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's the 10th of February, 2026.
Hello.
And I,
Hello. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you.
Oh,
All right, it
Brett,
worked.
there we
okay,
go.
good. I'm curious. Do you hear me twice? I hear me twice over here. So I'm curious. Do you have headphones that you can put on?
Me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So let us know where you're watching from. Put it in the chat. And it's not too bad today, but it's 47 where I am in Central Florida. Still on the cooler days. Not too bad. Let us know where you're watching from. Hashtag KMT for a chance to win
Kiltz Mighty Tribe hat.
a hat. Had a black one around here. Anyway,
There we go.
there we go. And also, if you have questions for our guests, we're going to be talking to Brent in a little bit. Put them in the chat. Okay. So good morning, Brent. Thank you for being with us. I just found out you were 3 hours behind in the West Coast. So it's a little bit early for you.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
So let's go ahead and start with your story. What do you do? Introduce yourself and tell us your story of healing if you have one.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for having me. This is really the first time that I've had a chance to tell my story. Hey, Dr. Kiltz, how you doing?
Great, thanks. Great, Brett.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to tell it. My goal for being on this podcast is I hope that my story gets to somebody that was like me and had some of the issues that I had, and maybe it helps them and gives them some direction and some insight into like what to do, because I was pretty lost, for a while. So yeah, so I guess I'll just start with the story then. Growing up, I had a pretty normal childhood, loving parents, sports, just like as normal as it could be, and I was pretty healthy for the most part, So the thing that I had learned growing up is like one of the laws of the universe is when you get sick, you tend to get better. And usually it doesn't take that long. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks is something that I believed to be true, because that's the way that it was always for me until 2018, when I was about 27 years old. And in March of 2018, I got sick. And unlike all the other times that I got sick, weeks went by, and then 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks went by, and I started freaking out, wondering like, when am I going to get better? And then it became months and even years. And so the symptoms that I had at the time, I mean, the list is really long, but things like fatigue, brain fog. My neck got really tight. It felt like somebody was gripping my neck like this, and it would just get really tight throughout the day. And I'd do all these weird stretches and try and get any sort of relief. But I woke up that way. I went to bed that way, and it just became my new normal. I was constantly clearing my throat. I had postnasal drip, chronic sinusitis, struggled to breathe. I was miserable at night. In the morning, I felt better. And it was like, but I was still waking up with like, my gas tank at a third full. Like I just didn't have a whole lot of energy to get me through the day. And at the end of the day, and here's the thing is like I still had to go to work. I still had to live my life. And
Right.
it's like on the outside I looked fine. And people at work had no idea, but like when I get home, there was literally nothing left. And I just feel so bad for my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. Like she went through all of this with me, but like there was times when, at the end of the day, your girlfriend wants to hear about your day. She wants to talk to you. And like, I just had to tell her sometimes, like, I'm sorry, I just can't even understand what you're saying right now. My brain fog is so bad. I'm just going to go to bed, and so it was really hard for her too. And this was just my new normal in like a miserable existence with low energy. And, I got sort of angry, frustrated. I couldn't figure it out. And I had such low energy that like the thought of like the life that I wanted, like I wanted to start a family, I wanted to have kids, and like it seemed impossible, so like there's no way I could take care of kids when I had barely enough energy to even take care of myself. And so that was just sort of a sad realization of my new normal. And so in the meantime, I was going through searching for answers, and like at the time, what I thought about, like sickness and chronic illness is like, okay, I just need to figure out what it is. And so that might mean like getting a better doctor, and having them tell me what's wrong with me, and then give me a drug or whatever the treatment is. Like there was no, like I had not thought that like maybe it's something that I'm doing. Like I thought that this is something that happened to me. And so it took me down like I was getting scans, tests, going to different doctors, and at some point like my symptoms seemed to line up with what I thought was Lyme's disease. And so I really latched onto that. I was like, this must be what I have, because all of the symptoms, like the long list of symptoms, like this is exactly what I had. I had a tick bite like right around when I started feeling sick. And I remember like it had that red ring around it. And so I went through like this whole charade of like, I called the people in town that I knew had Lyme's disease, and we discussed our symptoms, and like they were like the same. And they said, okay, you need to go to a Lyme specific doctor. You need to get this test, and then they'll tell you what to do and start you on this antibiotic route. And so I did get the test, and it was really expensive, but it came back negative. The Lyme specific doctor said, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the disease. Let's start antibiotic treatment. And I made a judgment call. I said, no, thank you. See you later. I think it's got to be something else, because I took this expensive test that says I don't have it. So I'm going to search elsewhere for answers. And the reason I bring that up, like, I don't want to get too far off on the story, but the reason I bring that up is because like, I think about other patients that might be convinced that they have Lyme's disease, and they might have a doctor that's telling them that they do, even though the test proved negative. And I hope that there isn't people going through that miserable treatment of antibiotics that don't actually have the disease. So, I just want to bring that up, that like, that wasn't what it was for me. And I'm so glad that I didn't go down that route. And I hope that, this story reaches somebody that has the same issues that I had, that ended up being more related to what I was eating. And
So
so,
how do you end up getting rid of all the symptoms?
well, there's an important sort of mindset switch that I had to go through first. So this went on for about, maybe a year and a half of being sick until I reached rock bottom. And rock bottom for me was around my 30th birthday. And the few weekends before my 30th birthday, my friends group and we were partying every weekend. And I was partying for my birthday weekend with another friend. His birthday was around the same time. When my girlfriend and I got home, we like stopped to get a greasy burger at the Habit on the way home, and went home, took a shower, sat in a chair in my bedroom. And I remember staring at the floor, thinking like, I have never felt this bad in my entire life. And if I continue on this path, like the life that I want to have kids and I want to start a family, like that life, like I'm probably not going to make it to that life if I continue on this path. And so this path was sort of a sobering realization that the decisions that I was making was not getting me any closer to that path. In fact, they were taking me further away. And it was at that moment when I realized that I'm the problem. And I stopped blaming doctors for not figuring out what's wrong with me. And I realized I'm the reason that I'm not getting better. And so in that moment, I took my power back, and I quit drinking for a little while, and I still didn't feel great, but at least I was in a better mindset to determine what was wrong with me. And when I removed the drinking, I was able to. It took away some of like the numbness, and I was able to discern sort of how I felt a little better. And so like that was the key piece, removing that distraction that allowed me to decide that I felt a little bit worse after I ate. And that was the clue that I needed to get further along. And so that at first took me down sort of a rabbit hole with reflux. And so I was like, oh, I just have reflux. And that answer was like sort of partially true, like, but reflux was just the symptom that was causing inflammation in my neck, causing a lot of the brain fog, tightening up the muscles back here in the back of my neck. But reflux was just the symptom. It wasn't the root cause. And so I went down that rabbit hole for a few months. And eventually I decided to look up and find out like what type of doctor deals with reflux. And that was a gastroenterologist. And so in the fall of 2021, I got to the gastroenterologist, and he said, okay, let's take a scope down your throat. He took some samples of my esophagus, sent them to a lab, and they came back, gave me a call 2 weeks later and said, you have eosinophilic esophagitis, EOE. And I was just so happy for somebody to tell me that something was wrong with me, right? And so he said, there's no cure, but if you do an elimination diet, you should feel a little better. But basically what EOE is it's just you have more eosinophils in your esophagus. And so it's your body's response to fighting something that's going down your throat. And so the first step to fixing this is to cut out all 8 major allergens, which is like eggs, fish. I don't know what they all are now, but
Plants.
yeah. So I got rid of all of those things, and I started to feel a little better, like 25% better, 30% better. But the protocol is to eliminate all of these foods and then introduce one at a time and wait for 2 weeks after eating that food to see how you feel and pay attention to how you feel. And so I learned a really valuable skill that was to pay attention to how I feel after eating and only introducing one thing at a time. And so it took me maybe a year of this process to basically cut out all of the foods that my body didn't respond to well. And I got really good at it. So like at first there was some things that were really obvious. Like I'd eat them and immediately my neck would tighten up like 10 minutes later. There were other things that I'd have to be eating for 2 weeks consistently to where I started to feel a little bit worse. And some of those things, like after a while, I got really good at it to where I could actually just feel like the blood rushing behind my ear, like my blood pressure was a little higher when I laid down for bed that night. And I thought back to what I had for dinner, and I thought, oh, asparagus, like that was the thing, you know. And so there was things that I cut out along the way. And after about a year from that diagnosis, my diet looked like what it is now, which was basically meat, potatoes, rice, some fruit, and eggs. And that's pretty much all I eat.
How young are you?
What's that?
How young are you?
Oh, I am 35.
Not enough time to suffer. You have more suffering to come.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Well, suffering is strengthening in life. And so you figured it out.
Yeah.
Today. But usually God throws another curveball at you. So what is your current diet at 35?
My current diet is I eat a lot of meat. And so like lunch for me is meat and potatoes. That's it. So just like meat and potatoes, like I do a lot of baked potatoes. And then dinner is meat and potatoes, I guess. Breakfast is eggs, butter, and I'll like snack on some fruit. I feed a lot of fruit to my kids. And so I'll have some berries and stuff, but bananas.
So you're a ketovore. How many meals a day do you eat?
I eat 3.
Right. So you still have more suffering to go through because you're still in the keto world, and 3 meals a day. You haven't because as the Charger gets older, the Ferrari, it's going to suffer more, and then it's going to realize that the plants are the predators and you are the prey, and ultimately, it's a crazy concept and idea that the plants are actually the toxins, and you just, again, it just takes longer to damage the system that you'll suffer some more.
Yeah, I believe you. I would say that, and I have tried. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I have tried carnivore recently. So I tried in November, and I only made it 2 weeks because
No, you made it 2 weeks. That was good. You made it a whole 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna try it again. I've got a big fitness event on the 20th this month. I'm doing a high rocks, and and I just really didn't want diarrhea while I was training. So, and I know that there's probably a way that I could do it better, and maybe we'll talk about that. But I think that I had, like, my first attempt, I didn't have enough fat in the diet. It was too much meat, I think. Too much lean meat. It was primarily tri-tip, and it was a lot, so I think more fat would have helped.
I think that's our biggest problem is we're eating leaner meat and overcooked meat where it's missing the raw fat. Rendered fat is not the same. But, it's our bodies are magical. We can pretty much eat, drink, smoke, inject anything, and some of us will get away with it and live a long life. But many of those people will be on drugs and doctors' dissections and miserable. But it's, again, you're 35, half my age, and doing amazing. But Dr. Nelson, suffering. Do you still experience suffering?
Almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit about your purpose in sharing your story and how you found, again, a ketogenic meat, animal based. I mean, it's kind of like eat meat 3 times a day is helpful in getting rid of a lot of the antigens which come from plants. You're feeling better, but you haven't been on a 30-day true carnivore yet.
No,
Not yet.
not yet. And I'm going to get there with your help. Okay.
Well, that's the beauty. Look at, if you look at Schlegel's book, Eat Meat 3 times a day, adding meat to our diet and narrowing the plants. I would say that white rice and white potatoes, no skin, cooked well with lots of butter, is less antigenic and toxic than many other plant substances, but they're not non-toxic. And in small amounts, with a lot of fat cooked well, and with raw animal meat, organ meats, and liver. Oh my God! I was on with Bob and Jeff and Larry. I can't remember Larry Bruce. I apologize. And Papa was there, and Thomas talking with Bob, Carnivore Talk, and there's a lot of, as we're aging, the damage and disease and going really narrow is the thing that gives us the best clarity in the mind, and then strengthen the body.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about what you were saying when I met you in San Diego about, plants. And at that time, I was still eating squash. And I just kind of cut that out because, even though, for me, I didn't feel that squash, like, my body wasn't quite rejecting it, but I don't really enjoy eating it that much. So I just sort of cut it out, and I took your word for it. But I think that what I'm trying to say is that, a lot of people, a lot of your listeners have found the diet through knowledge, right? The carnivore diet. So they've been told the science and why it works and so forth. And what I encourage people to also do is, what I've learned is, think about how you feel and pay attention to how you feel after you eat something. And so that's really helped me. And it's landed me in a place that's really close to carnivore diet without even getting any of the knowledge. Like, no doctor told me that carnivore was good, but I just happened to land here by listening to my body really close, And so I think it's a valuable skill that anyone can practice and benefit from. and it applies to other areas in life as well, not just with your diet. And so that's, I think, part of my next part of my story is that after about a year of the dieting, I hit a plateau, right? So I thought I had removed all of the foods that that my body didn't like. And there wasn't really any that were obvious anymore. And so got frustrated again, like, man, I still only feel 60 to 70% better, back to normal from before, how I felt before age 27. And I sort of realized that, like, I can't just keep going back to the doctor and asking him to fix me. And I need to try something else. Yeah. And so what I did was I started looking at what other really healthy people were doing. And I got into other stuff. And so I got into biohacking. And so I started living like some of the people that I looked up to, like Dr. Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia. And so I started listening to these guys and really soaking in what they had to say. And there was a lot of things about my life that I could fix. And getting good sleep was one of them. Light in the morning and no blue light in the evening. And so basically I took away screens. So on January 1st, 2023, my wife and we decided no screens after we put the kids to bed, which, by the way, I have 3 kids now. So I thought that I was, and, life has given me many blessings, my wife being the biggest one of them all. And my kids being, just an extraordinary blessing. So we have 3 kids under the age of, we had 3 under 3. And so we've got
Awesome.
3 little girls, and I have enough energy. I could have more now. So that's no longer a problem. I feel really blessed. But so anyway, I started dialing in all these other things about my life, and dopamine was a big one. And so I didn't really understand what dopamine was, but once I started listening to Dr. Huberman and I read, and another big thing was, like, at this time, since we cut out screens at night, instead of watching Netflix, we would read. And so I became like a sponge, and basically under a red light bulb, we would read books. And one of the books I was reading was Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemke. It's a great book. And she puts dopamine into an easy to understand format. And so that basically helped me realize what I was doing when I would drink alcohol. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to feel good for a half hour after this beer, right? But then I'm going to be even more depressed than before the beer. And then the next day, I'm going to be tired because it screwed up my sleep. And so it's like, I found that alcohol was like a huge lie in my life. And it was something that I would be much better without, once I understood, once I had all of the knowledge available. And so I don't remember when it was, but some point in 2023, I quit drinking completely. And before that, it was like every time I reached for that one beer I was going to have, I was like, do I really want that? No, not really. So I would just put it back. And so anyway, I fixed that. And knowing about dopamine, I also got rid of social media. And so just like all of these things that then after that, I messed around with supplements too, and I did some blood testing, and I found that I was extremely deficient in vitamin D, and some B vitamins, and started supplementing with those. And with all these new biohacking protocols, I went very quickly from feeling like 60 to 70% to, gosh, like 120%. I mean, I felt like I had more energy than ever, clear thinking, a sharp memory. My motivation went through the roof. I felt very present with my kids. And like, I had like so much. I went from feeling like zero to hero, very quickly. Like, all of the missing pieces sort of aligned, and I didn't even know, like in my early 20s, I didn't even feel this good, you know. And so I didn't know that it was possible just by basically doing some of the actions that we were meant to do, you know, getting outside, getting sunlight, getting away from screens and social media, getting away from TV at night, you know, all of these modern luxuries that have basically wrecked our health. So I feel very lucky to have found that. And at first, when I started doing these protocols, like, it didn't immediately translate into feeling better. And it took a lot of consistency of doing those things until eventually it all caught up with me and I felt a lot better very quickly. And sorry if I'm rambling.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Dr. Nelson, Ollie, we want to highlight a couple of questions, comments, and it's a great story, Brent. We really appreciate it. Where do you live?
I'm in California.
Big state. Where do you live?
Oh yeah, so Grass Valley. I'm in between Sacramento and Reno.
Yep. Yeah, I'm from LA. Used to live in El Dorado Hills and in Davis and in Berkeley. Yeah, great spots. Grass Valley is really wonderful spots. You know, would you say your story is just a human story that through time and experience and suffering, you're learning, expressing the things that we're all gathering together to live better lives?
Yes, absolutely.
So there's some value to social media. You know, it's kind of like everything else. A car could be good or bad. A gun could be good or bad. A knife could be good or bad. And you know, the systems that we're here communicating around the globe now gives us the power, kind of like a book. You know, initially they were in libraries that only a very few can have access to. And then it's like, okay, let's make books for everyone. No, right? So now we have these devices and they're all good and bad. It depends on how you use them, not innately built into them.
I agree. And I think, though, for me, I had to get out of the repetitive loop you know, so taking a break from it. I'm back on it now. Obviously, I have to for my business. But taking a break from it and really understanding how it's affecting me helps me. And I find that I do better on social media if I have certain guardrails up, you know, create, not consume. And so if I am consuming, it needs to be related to the creation. So
the great creation. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
We got some questions.
Yeah, questions. Let's go. Yeah.
But we can answer these. My question is, you want to talk about beast mode soap for a few minutes? I know we didn't want to make this the whole thing of the live stream, but we should talk about your soap.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I could continue with the story because the soap is I have a good transition into why I created the soap. It's all related to the story,
Sure.
if you want. Okay, so anyway, I feel like Superman. That's where we're at in the story. Like I've gotten from 60 to 70% to 120%. And motivation is off the charts. Like because I fixed all of my dopamine abuse issues. Now I have a lot of energy.
I have not. But,
Yeah.
but dopamine is still the most powerful tool for because your work and is pushed by dopamine, right? You're now controlling it. That's right. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, dopamine is like a wave, a natural wave, and you need to guide it basically. And so now that my dopamine isn't being spent and guided towards watching Netflix and drinking alcohol or whatever it was, where it was just randomly going to the places that brought me pleasure. Now it is directionally being used to create. And so I'm getting to that part. But basically, after feeling like I was on top of the world and my health, like I had conquered my issues and now I'm feeling good, something big happened to me. So my grandma was, she always believed in me. And before I was one, I had 3 surgeries, and she thought that there's no way I would have made it through all of those surgeries if God didn't have big plans for me. And so she made a big point of every time I saw her, she would always tell me that I was special and God had big plans for me. And I believed her. And it was part of what gave me confidence as a young kid, going through life being made fun of because I had glasses and whatever. Like it was the thing that let me feel like I was special, and like I didn't let those kids get to me because I knew that like what my grandma had said was true. But then in 2024, she passed away, and it was a kind of a big transition for me because this thing that she would tell me that God had big plans for me, it felt like I believed her, but it was off in the distant future. And when she passed, I suddenly realized that like that I wanted that to be true, but it wouldn't be true if I didn't make it a reality. Because when she passed, I didn't want that belief in me to die along with her, and so I went from a consumer to I stopped thinking about what I could consume, and I started thinking about what I could contribute. And so the week after she passed away, I created an LLC. And at first, the idea that I had that I was going to help contribute to the world was like it was a baby wipe invention. And so I had an idea for baby wipes that like would help get one wipe out at a time, and it would keep the wipes on the counter and everything. But I really struggled to make that invention work. I went through a lot of prototypes, and around the same time, I was still optimizing different parts of my health and my life. And so I basically was taking these principles of the elimination diet and biohacking, applying them to my supplements that I took. And then I went into my bathroom and I started reading the labels on the things I was putting on my skin. And I really didn't like what I was reading, because by this time I was really good at reading labels. I had to be, because I was allergic to so many things. And when I looked at what I had in my shower, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm allergic to coconut. Why am I putting that on my skin? And so I basically threw everything away in my shower, and I started doing some research on like, what are the most minimal ingredient soaps? And they all tend to be made out of tallow. And the reason is because tallow not only cleans, but it moisturizes as well. And so then I started buying the different tallow soaps on the market, and I would compare them. I got sort of obsessed with it, and I would compare them in my shower. I would try them, and I seemed to find something wrong with every one that I tried. Like some of them used good ingredients, but the soap wasn't good. They'd just fall apart because the way they made it wasn't right. It'd crack. Some of them had bad ingredients like artificial fragrances. Some of them would use good ingredients, but then they'd water them down with like seed oils. So it'd be essential oils, but then they'd water it down with seed oils. And so I sort of like went through all of them, and I didn't really find one that I really, really liked. So then I decided, well, I'm going to start calling manufacturers to see if someone could make what I want. And so basically what I wanted was just grass-fed tallow, essential oils, and natural colorants. I only wanted natural ingredients in my soap. And the surprising thing was after calling like 35 manufacturers, I realized that nobody wanted to make it. So not one of these manufacturers wanted to make it. Later on, I realized that's because of like profits mainly. It's like, it's a lot easier for them to make if they cut it with seed oils, because the seed oils are cheap. They're widely available. It's easier to run through their machines. It doesn't clog up their machines and stuff. And so anyway, I ended up finding a very small soap manufacturer that said they'd do it. And so they sent me some samples. And right when I got those samples, I immediately realized like, this is the best soap I've ever used. And I felt like my calling or my purpose was not like the baby wipe invention wasn't going well at this point, and it was not to bring that to the world, but like I felt like this soap, like if everyone knew and tried this soap and like felt like for themselves how much better it feels on their skin, I don't think that people would go back to anything else, because the way that soap feels and works, and it's just so simple. It's different from anything I've ever tried. And so at that moment, Beast Mode soap was born.
What's the purpose of soap?
To cleanse.
Why do we use soap? Why do we even use? Why not just like rinse it off with water and you're done? Who invented soap, and why do we use soap?
That's a good question. I mean, I should probably know, right? But
not necessarily, but I'm just curious. I mean, essentially, the things that eventually bind to our body, along with the microbes and the dirts and the dust and the plants and the all the other yik-yak. Let's see. Soap is made of essentially fat.
Well, soap can be made out of a lot of different things, but ours is made out of just fat. Yes.
But essentially fat. I mean, if you look at other soaps, they're made of oils. Yes, yeah. Or other substances. I don't know that answer. I don't know if anyone else does. I guess, and the simplicity of soap, I mean, in our ancient past is pot ash.
Yeah. So the ash the ash is what makes it into soap. And so that's a chemical reaction that turns it from fat into soap. And so it can also turn oils into soap. Now, that's how we used to do it hundreds of years ago, as we used to use ash. But now we use the chemical version of that, which is lye. And so even in our soap, we do use lye. It's not really economically possible to make it with ash anymore, and it's not as consistent. And so that's why we use the chemical lye. But in order to take it from a fat or an oil and turn it into soap, you need to do the saponification process, and that requires lye. If it is done right, once it is done, none of that lye is still left over in the remaining product. But that has to do with the correct dosages and the correct process. And so our manufacturer is the best at this. They are very, very religious on the process. I've seen their process, and it's very precise. But that's what makes the difference between a good soap and a bad soap, is if they don't have it cure for the correct amount of time or the right dosage, then you could have a little lye left over, and then that soap sort of burns you because of the chemicals are still in there. And then if they don't cut it at the correct time with the cold process method, that's when you get the splitting and the cracking. And so our manufacturer is just really good at this. And it's part of the reason I felt like I had to, I have a sales background. I did RV sales for my whole life. And so I know marketing and sales. And I felt like that's my strategic advantage with this business, is I feel like I could bring it to the masses. I'll let the soap makers just do what they do, and they're doing a great job and creating a wonderful product. And I feel like it's my responsibility to get it out there. And so basically the carnivore community has been so supportive to us, and they have been amazing. And everyone has, the stories that I'm hearing on the reviews are just like, they make me feel so good that I'm doing the right thing. And I feel like it would make my grandma proud. So it's
the
reason.
Her proud.
Yeah.
She is proud.
So, yeah. And so it's the reason that I'm doing this. And I left the family business at the beginning of this year, the RV sales business. That was sort of hard for me, but I can't replace the way that this business makes me feel. I feel like I'm making a difference, and the reviews have just been so good, and everyone says, keep doing it. We love your soap, and it's made a difference.
Ali, is this on our website?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
And people get a discount, and
I think it's Dr.
affiliate sales and helping people. Tell me how'd you determine the name of this?
The idea came to me in the shower. At the time, I was really into fitness, and I still am. But so through my diet, I have found that I have sort of like a special place for beef and animals, so like I believe the animal products are like the most potent and most powerful products for humans. And I even went through a small I thought that I had alpha-gal syndrome. That's the one where the tick bites you and then you're allergic to red meat. I thought that I might have had that, and so I stopped eating red meat for a little while, and I was still eating I was still eating chicken. And weirdly, like whatever red meat has in it, the chicken doesn't. Like I felt depressed while I was only eating chicken. And then the moment that I introduced red meat again, instantly that depression went away. And
the health food, the sickness food, right? This is that, right? But the most important part is all this white stuff, raw fat. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I was missing fat.
You're missing. People are not eating raw fat; they eat rendered fat. Different, not the same. That's why tallow and lard is not as healthy as eating the beast. The beast is here, right?
Yeah.
Beast mode soap is actually made from the real beast.
That's right.
You try to kill a cow, not easy.
So that's exactly what I mean when I felt that these cows, and we grew up with cows, my family raised cattle, and I felt that these animals had a lot of like hidden power, and so I wanted to sort of think of a name that would make it sound cool, like it came from a powerful animal,
What's the link through Kiltz Mighty Tribe or the Dr. Kiltz? You want to have a link there, Alia.
Sure.
That's
okay, good.
That's a good way through the marketplace, so everyone can find it too.
Yeah.
Get the Kiltz best discount. Cool.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. But we are beasts, and you're. I mean, the keto meat-centric diet is healing. There was a question there on sleep. What was that about?
I missed the sleep question. Did it just pop up? Let's see.
Well, so this is made from tallow. Now, why tallow versus lard?
Yeah, I mean, you could do lard. Lard actually makes a great soap, but it feels different. I mean, yeah. So either one is going to be good, but I like the way that the tallow feels. It's a little smoother.
Nice. Okay, I've got a couple questions.
Cool.
When you do carnivore next time, will you please consider joining with a community to do it? You should join our community. It's free. We'll support you in your next carnivore journey.
Yeah, sure. And my wife wants to try it too.
Well, you are a carnivore. That's screwing what you evolutionally are. And we're just not living it. I mean, we have omnivorous capabilities, but 70% of our calories should be from animals and far less than 30% from plants, for sure.
Oh, that's a good question. I see that one.
Great.
So actually, using the soap as shampoo is generally not recommended because, well, it depends. But if you have short hair, it's probably fine. But if you have longer hair, it can cause split ends. So it's making basically it's going to dry your hair out, and it will create like little microscopic damage to the hair. So Dr. Kiltz can use it as shampoo.
I use this in my hair, by the way. I use this as more, not this one, but I use this like I'm from this to this, but I shower and bathe far less frequently on carnivore than I've ever done. And
and you're cutting your hair off before it's ever going to do any damage. So it's it's not recommended for long hair. No. Shampoo is kind of a hard one. It's So we've only been using shampoo for 100 years. If you look at the history, and so it's really crazy, but the alternative would be just to, so you could just use water, but, a lot of us sweat a lot and, so you got to get that sweat out of your hair. And, I don't know. I don't know what the answer. It'd be nice for us to.
But rinsing in cold water. I mean, my brother, Ray, all he does is take cold showers. He's been doing it since a kid. And, but it's not coming out of a mountain spring, at all. But he does swim in the cold Pacific Ocean without a wetsuit. But I think that really water, but the soap, the tallow or lard based soaps using potash, which is potassium, basically, and potassium from pots. Wow, how'd they come up with that? And basically the pot contained the water and the fat, and the ashes somehow gotten into this. Like, oh my God, this cleans the dirt off of us, right? It's really it.
Right. That was the most common soap, hundreds of years ago. How did your sleep change when you changed your diet? So I don't know, because at the same time, I actively did some biohacking protocols to improve my sleep. So I couldn't tell you how much of it was from my diet and how much of it was from the other stuff I was doing. Like, I think the biggest improvement in my sleep was getting rid of screens later at night. So we decided that we weren't going to do screens after we put the kids to bed. We put the kids to bed at 7:30. And so then we would only have red lights on through the last few hours. I always made sure to get, don't eat within 3 hours of bedtime. Magnesium threonate before bed. That crosses the blood-brain barrier. And then, and then another one that I've done more recently is mouth tape. That's really improved my sleep. So that if you tape your lips together, you're only breathing through your nose, and it helps. It changes your heart rate variability. So
can't talk in your sleep or yell out.
Yeah. But if for anyone that hasn't tried the mouth tape, it is a game changer. And one thing that I've found is, like, I have to get up in the middle of the night a lot of the time. The baby's crying or whatever. And I find that I'm able to fall back asleep very quickly. Another thing for me too with the sleep, I used to get up in the middle of the night a lot to have to go pee. Once I fixed my vitamin D deficiency by supplementing vitamin D, for some reason that went away. I don't know if it was related or not, but it was directly correlated to the vitamin D time frame when I started supplementing with that.
I just want to say congratulations, Jack. Please email me, Alia at DoctorKiltz.com, and we will get you your hat.
And let's send him some soap. We'll send him a variety pack of soap.
Oh,
yeah, cool.
Sweet.
Very nice.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Very nice.
I got to press the end stream. Goodbye.
Bye.